Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over how to edit faster if you're a console or controller Fortnite player. Out of all the disadvantages that controller has compared to mouse and keyboard in Fortnite, editing speed is arguably the biggest. That's not to say there aren't some insane controller editors out there, because there definitely are, but I don't think anyone would debate the fact that the average mouse and keyboard player can edit much faster than the average controller player. And even though editing speed used to be one of my biggest weaknesses as a player, I think I've improved that weakness pretty significantly over the past few months. So hopefully I can help all you fellow controller players do the same thing, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so when it comes to improving editing speed on controller, there's one specific tip that helped me more than anything else: decreasing the total distance of my edits. Let me explain a little more in depth what that means and why it's so important. So when I mention the term speed in regards to editing, most people will associate that with moving your crosshair and pressing buttons faster. And don't get me wrong, that is really important, but the mistake that people make is thinking that's the only way to improve your editing speed, because that's just flat out wrong. I want to show you guys an image on the screen which I made in Microsoft Paint, so sorry about the lackluster artwork, but I think it really simplifies what I mean when I reference the importance of decreasing editing distance. So what you see right here are two different potential ways to complete a fairly simple bottom right corner 4-tile edit. One thing that's important to realize here is that at the end of the day, both editing paths have the same result. Both will successfully complete that same bottom corner edit. However, hopefully what you can tell right away from looking at this image is that both editing paths are not the same, and more importantly, one editing path requires significantly less crosshair movement and distance traveled than the other. If you take a bit more of an in-depth look at the bigger editing path, you'll see that you're starting towards the top of the top left square, then you're going all the way to the bottom of the bottom left square, then almost all the way to the right edge of the bottom right square, close to the top of the top right square, and finally you bring it all the way back to where the editing path started. That right there is a super inefficient path with a ton of wasted distance traveled, and therefore is going to result in that edit taking way longer than it needs to. On the flip side, if you take a look at the smaller editing path, your crosshair spending so much less time in each square that you're significantly decreasing the distance and time needed to complete the edit, and therefore you're also greatly increasing the speed. Here's a fairly simple analogy that hopefully hammers the point home. A car that travels 50 miles per hour is obviously going to be faster than a car that travels 40 miles per hour. But if those two cars were racing and the finish line was 50 miles away from the first car but only 30 miles away from the second car would obviously win that theoretical race despite being slower. Now, I'm sure at least some of you guys are probably wondering something like, okay, is this really necessary or important for most edits? I mean, if I'm making a simple door edit with enemies nowhere near me, why does any of this matter? And my response to that would be, yeah, I guess that's partially true. With a lot of the edits you make in Fortnite, speed doesn't really matter. However, when you're dealing with the most important edits in a game, that's where speed becomes absolutely crucial. Fortnite, more than any other video game out there, in my opinion at least, is a game that revolves around fractions of a second. Sure, if you're in the middle of nowhere and there's no enemies nearby, I guess it doesn't really matter at all if your top corner edit takes 0.1 or 0.3 seconds. But if that edit's taking place in a box fight, that small change in time can be the difference between hitting a pump shot right as your enemy's about to escape their box, or them just barely making it out before you get the chance. Also, for certain more advanced double or even triple edits, it may not even be possible to complete them unless you've mastered shortening your editing path. For example, with the super popular floor cone double edit while running up a ramp, if you take too long to edit the floor, it'll be almost impossible to edit the cone because you'll hit your head on it and now the building menu will be all smushed in your face. So even if you're not mechanically gifted enough to control a crazy fast sensitivity or flick your crosshair around like wild while editing, you can gain a lot of ground on those players in terms of speed simply by focusing on decreasing the distance of your edits. I really can't emphasize the importance of it enough, and I feel like it's especially helpful for console and controller players because editing's so much harder for you guys compared to mouse and keyboard players. The next thing I want to quickly share is a bit of a situational tip that'll help you edit much faster in certain situations. So let's keep it as simple as possible here and say you just broke and replaced an enemy's wall, then you made a top right corner edit and hit your opponent for a decent amount of damage. He didn't die, so you're gonna need to hit another shot, but you don't want to shoot again through the same top right corner edit because you can see the enemies pre-aiming that spot, and that's actually a pretty common thing that lesser skilled players will do in that situation. The mistake that a lot of players will make here, and I'll show a clip for a bit of a visual example, is that they'll reset their top corner edit, confirm that reset, enter the edit menu again to start a new edit, make it, and then confirm it. So basically, that's a total of 5 different steps to make that new edit. Instead, what you should be doing is resetting the top right corner edit, but not confirming it so the building menu stays open, and then you simply make your new edit and confirm it. So that's only 3 steps this time compared to 5. So again, just like with shortening your editing distance, this is a way to increase your editing speed that doesn't even require an increase of mechanical skill. It's not a complicated process by any means, but for some reason it seems like only the fastest editors in the game ever take advantage of this quicker reset and re-edit mechanic, but maybe that's partially why they're the fastest. The next thing I want to briefly discuss in terms of how it impacts fast editing is your editing sensitivity. So obviously, when it comes to editing speed, your sensitivity basically determines your ceiling for how fast you can go. If you were to put 2 robots together that are coded to edit perfectly every single time, the robot with the higher sensitivity would always finish slightly faster. But at the same time, nobody's that perfect, and because of that, an editing sensitivity that's too high is probably even more detrimental than using one that's too low. However, at the same time, unless you're already at a really high editing sensitivity, which I would say is anything above maybe 2.1, you should always be trying to go higher, and there's a specific way you want to go about doing that. Let's say you currently play on something in maybe the 1.5 to 1.7 range, so not ridiculously low, but ideally you'd want to go at least a little higher. Let's just say your end target is 2.0. The worst thing you can possibly do is just change your sensitivity from its current value and go immediately to 2.0. Your editing will plain and simple be totally out of control, and not only will that make Fortnite super unfun to play for a pretty long period of time, but even worse is the fact that you're gonna build so much bad muscle memory by using that uncontrollable sensitivity. Earlier in this video, I super emphasized the importance of having efficient editing paths. Well, one of the things that'll hold you back for being able to do that is if you play with a sensitivity that's too high for you. It's going to cause you to flick your crosshair all over the place and either mess up the edit entirely or just do it inefficiently. And a quick side note here when it comes to editing speed, just realize that a slow edit done correctly in one try will almost always be faster than a super quick edit that you mess up the first time, so now you need to do it again. So the way you avoid making all these mistakes and building bad muscle memory while raising your editing sensitivity is by doing it gradually over time. If you're at a 1.5 and you want to go to a 2, go to 1.6 and stay there for a few days until you're just as comfortable as you were at 1.5. Then go to 1.7, and this time around it'll probably take even a little longer to get comfortable with that. Repeat that process over and over again until you eventually get to 2.0. If you skip steps or try to speed up the process too much, trust me, it's only gonna hurt you and hurt your editing speed in the long run. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down the comment section below. I want you to rate your personal editing speed from 0 to 10, 0 being incredibly slow, 10 being insanely fast. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.